Welcome back to Utility Room Legends. I am your host, Jon Davis. First off, I want to thank all of you who listened to our very first episode with Mike Youthy from Mueller Water Products. Your support has been incredible. To those who listened, liked, subscribed, and reached out personally, I have truly appreciated the feedback and encouragement. It really has been inspiring to see how many of you are just as passionate about this industry as we are, and confirms why this podcast was created. I must also thank Sky Jacob, our producer, for her tireless efforts in making this possible, and her patience, of course, in dealing with me. A quick reminder, we will be releasing new episodes every other Thursday, and you can watch them on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can also visit our website at utilityroomlegends.com for episode links, podcast updates, and to submit your info if you feel like you or someone you know would make a great guest. Now, as I mentioned in our pre-episode introduction, in case you missed it, this podcast isn't just about water and or the products that move and control it. It's about the people behind it. That's why we call it Utility Room Legends, not because of the stories or tales from the industry, but because of the truly legendary people of the industry's past and present. Today, I'm honored to sit down with someone who truly embodies what this podcast is all about. Again, while the term legend may invoke tales and lore, here we refer to the legendary individuals in our industry who have helped shape it, grow it, and continue to push it forward. The people who show up every day with passion, mentor others, and drive meaningful change. Brent Richards is one of those people. With nearly 40 years in the waterworks industry, plumbing and irrigation HVAC, and now serving as the CEO and president of RepMasters, Brent's journey is rooted in grit, integrity, and unshakable commitment to excellence. From his early days of opening and working the warehouse in the morning while making sales calls in the afternoon, to building lasting relationships across hundreds of manufacturers, Brent's influence can be felt in every corner of the industry. In this conversation, we explore how legacy, not just success, drives Brent. We talk about mentorship, backflow innovation, and the evolving needs of our water infrastructure. We also reflect on how persistence, adaptation, and values like honesty and service are critical in shaping both careers, families, and communities. It's people like Brent who have been on the industry's front lines and shaped the path for future generations that are truly legends in this space. Let's get into it. So we're live now.
We're live right now?
Right now we're live, whenever we say it.
Oh, okay. What do we do now?
That's up to you.
You're the one that's supposed to be asking questions,
That's right. Well,
all right, John, let me ask you a question.
Go for it. Shoot.
Are you a happy man?
Am I a happy man? I am a happy man.
Good.
Yeah.
You're a good man.
I appreciate that. I've had a lot of influential people in my life. You're definitely one of them, so I appreciate you coming on. Happy to have you on. So thanks for everything you've done to help make this happen as well.
Yeah, you bet. This is great.
Yeah, and so why don't you go ahead and this is your floor. Let's introduce you to everyone who may not know you. Many do, and for those that don't.
Brent Richards, 39 years in this industry. So wow. It's been amazing. Got a lot of close friends, great experiences, passionate about what we do here at RepMasters and UGO, and passionate about our customer base and our partners in general. So manufacturers, it's a great industry. I mean, there's not a lot of businesses that you can be in out there where you develop close friendships for years and years and years that just last. And yeah, I remember first starting out in the business, and I would go in, had the warehouse open for half a day, and I would go in and load trucks and close it down at noon and then go out and make sales calls.
Wow.
And a lot of the drivers that I used to load are the guys that's running the wholesale houses now, my customers now.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Back in the days, as John Watson says, when Brent was the best dressed warehouse guy.
That's why. I didn't want to look like shit when I showed up for sales calls in the afternoon.
So they had those salmon color shirts and pants and
no,
like a seagull's cut.
No, I never. That wasn't my gig, but I probably did dress maybe a little better than most.
Heck yeah, you always
guys.
do. You should wear that. take pride in that. A lot of people can't pull it off. Of course, not a lot of people are built like a brick shit house like you are, but you know,
I'll take that as a compliment.
it's a great compliment. I can't pull that off. I got the gut thing going. I mean, I guess that's on me, but
You got the dad bod.
the dad bod, it's in.
You're sexy.
It's the rage. That's what they say, at least. That's what I tell myself. So 39 years?
39 years. Going to be
Wow.
40 in January next year.
Yeah, when people ask what you do, what do you tell them all the time?
Well, it's confusing to most people. Most people, they just turn a faucet on and the water comes out.
Yep.
They have no idea.
Yeah, I know.
So you don't want to get too complicated. So I just tell them, hey, I'm involved with everything that moves and controls water.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
So I find like everyone has kind of like something they love. You know, obviously you got like Mike Rooney, right? I mean, that is the backflow guy. He's turned 2 check valves back to back into, you know, the technical product that he nerds out on. What about you? Did you have anything back when you started?
Well, when I started, I was Mike's big competitor.
Yeah.
I was the backflow guy too. It was him and I in this market. That was it.
Yeah.
And I was the Ames guy and he was the Fedco guy, and we went head to head all the time. And he did a great job in the irrigation market on the smaller diameter stuff, and then I focused more on fire protection and industrial. And so yeah, we were both, he and I were kind of the backflow experts until, you know, through some acquisitions and things, I ended up hiring Mike to come to work here.
Yeah.
And so, but you know, it was interesting because we were always good friends.
Yeah. I think for the most part, that's what I like to is, I think other than just to make maybe a few times, or most even my competitors we can sit down with and have a good time and talk. And yeah, it's kind of like that. It's almost like like sometimes when you hear about players that have been on other teams and they get traded, it's like, hey, we go to war when we play each other, but after that it's all kind of like family still.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting dynamic that we had, because I tried to get into the irrigation market and he'd beat the hell out of me, and then he tried to get into the fire market and I'd beat the hell out of him. So we had like this gentleman's agreement. Okay, you stay in your part of the world and I'll stay in mine. And then it was like, you know, just a kind of a blessing that, you know, like I said, through acquisitions, it was like, hey, I guess it's time for us to work together. So
yeah.
He's a great guy. Mike's one of many that I've gotten to know through the years that are just as good a people as it gets.
Yeah, he is. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of that. It's cool to see the kind of changing of the guard thing and it seems like someone was just mentioning it too at one of the conferences we were at, even with the municipalities, they talk about this gap, you know, where you have these guys that are been doing it for 35, 40 years. You know, I usually in the class will ask how long you've been doing it. You know, if you've been doing it for more than, 10 years, 5 years, raise your hand, and keep your hand up more than 10, 15. It's like you got a group of guys that's like no more than 10, and then you got a really big group of guys that's like 30 plus. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's cool to see a lot of newer people getting into it.
Yeah, there is a lot of new blood. I mean, we have a lot of new blood here.
Yeah, look at the office. Yeah.
So it's great to see. I mean, because we don't last forever.
No, we definitely don't.
We're limited on our time on this earth.
As we used to say in the car business,
the
depreciating assets.
Yeah. So, but no, life is good. Business is good, and that's kind of how I started. So it's been a long journey. So
yeah, you'd say probably over the years throughout that period, as far as manufacturers, partners, definitely. I mean, got to be coming and going between all that and who RepMasters represents now. There's got to be close. You probably had about 100 manufacturers at least.
Yeah, through the years.
Yeah,
through the years. I mean,
but most of them, the relationships are solid. They've been there the whole time, or 15 plus.
Yeah, and I can tell you that Watts is probably my longest relationship. I mean, they ended up acquiring Ames.
Yeah.
But Ames was one of the first lines that I had, and that was 39 years ago.
Yeah.
And then, Watts ended up buying them. So really our relationship with Watts is about 39 years old. So,
Wow.
but you have relationships with, a lot of manufacturers that are long-term, and some of it gets cut short because they get bought out.
Yeah, acquisitions, changes.
And they change focus, and been through all of those things many, many times. So, but my value is long-term relationships.
Yeah.
I want to work with people that I can trust, and and honor that relationship that we have with them, and be their advocate, and that's what we take pride in here.
Yeah, I think anything long term like that is, it's sustainable and it's built on trust, and when you have that many years, it's a mutual thing too. It is, excellence together is what the model for RepMasters is. It really is, because it's a two-way street.
It is.
They got to depend on us, and they put a lot of faith, and then at the same time, we rely on them and trust that they have our best interests as well. And
yeah, and most of the time they do. Sometimes they don't.
yeah,
Maybe you get people in. I found that the worst part of any of those equations are people that come in from outside the industry and
right.
think they understand it, and they want to make a name for themselves.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Luckily, it doesn't happen very often. When it does, it's a disaster.
Well, it usually doesn't last.
No.
Because it's, I think one of the things in this industry too, I'd say is that people who are in it, once they're in it, they tend to stay in it.
Yeah.
Unless it's just not a fit. And usually it's not a fit because, people can usually see through. They see people for who they are in this side of it. I think I see that a lot. You don't want to burn too many bridges because it's a tight, close knit, and it's the same people you see.
It is, and there's really two kinds of people, and those of us who've been in the industry a long time, we can, I guess, for lack of a better way, we can smell them out.
Yeah.
They're there just for a stepping stone. They don't care. They're somebody, they'll sell you down the road and try to take the next step, and for their career. And there's nothing wrong with trying to better yourself, but
sure.
When you lose your honor and your character along the way, that's not a good thing. And so that you got the people who are like that, and then you got the people who are passionate about what they do, and they're committed, and they want to make a difference in this industry.
Yeah, I think that's the best part for me, with relationships, is also doing something that matters. I feel, I've always tried to turn whatever I do into that. Maybe that's the military side. But like even looking at water, it's important. Can't go more than 3 days before people start shooting each other over gallons of water at Walmart, right? If you turn off shut off the water. So it's important, and there's change that needs to go about. What we're doing is not really working long term. So that's, I think, what drives me, and my passion is to find that what you do makes a difference, because you said it yourself earlier that it's a short period of time we're here.
Yeah.
And so it's really about what you leave behind. Well, you're the one that used to always talk about legacy.
Legacy is, well, to me, legacy is everything.
Yeah.
It's, you can get caught up in the day to day, month to month, year to year cycle of work, but what motivates you?
Yeah.
What motivates a person? And for me, it was legacy. I wanted to make sure that I left my children more than what I had when I started.
Yeah.
And give them the ability to exceed what I created. That's the whole thing. You want your children or your work or whatever it is to outperform anything that you did.
Yeah.
So, and that's what motivates me. That's what drives me.
Yeah.
So, it's not the only thing, for sure. But
but
it's the core.
That is the core. There's the reasons why.
Yeah.
And that's part of it is, like it for me for work. I need to make sure that everything that I do, that I touch, I try and make it so that it's better. that it's better with me than it would be without me.
For sure.
And that there's a difference. That's part of legacy, I think, too, is, you know, leaving so that your children look back and go, okay, I learned that lesson. You watch kids, and you also learn that sometimes they got to learn that stuff for themselves, right? Mm-hmm. It's like my son's getting ready to graduate, and you tell him. I remember when he was real little, and I was making breakfast, and he reaches up. I'm like, don't touch that, it's hot. And he looks right at me, and he touches it.
Yeah.
You realize your kids are gonna have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how we learn. You make mistakes.
It is. We all make mistakes. That's part of life. We're flawed.
Yeah.
That's why our Savior Jesus Christ came down here and died for us, made up that difference. And so, for me, it's like every day I go to work or anything that I try to do in my life, I just, I'm OCD, as you know. Anybody that works for me or knows me, very OCD, perfectionist. But I've learned that it's not really about being perfect, because none of us can be perfect. But if you get up every day and you just do the best you can, then you can sleep at night, and you maintain your integrity through that process, because that's part of legacy too. What are people going to say when you're not here anymore?
Right.
And working with me as well as everybody else, I harp on that all the time.
Yeah.
That's a big part of, what we do here, is to make sure that we maintain, that trust factor with everybody. And doesn't mean we don't screw up, but when we screw up, we own it and we take care of it. And those are the times when you can actually excel, and those are the times when people remember.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because it's like you always hear integrity. What is integrity? It's doing the right thing when no one's around.
Yeah.
And I guess what way would you be able to know if you're a person of integrity? Is kind of ironic. It's similar, but it's different. It's what do people say about you when you're not around?
Yes. Hopefully it's good things.
Hopefully it's good things.
You're never going to make everybody happy.
It's not making everyone happy, but even people sometimes, if they don't get along, they'll say, hey, sometimes we butt heads, but hey, that guy, like, if he says it, that's what he believes, or that's who he is. He's genuine. That's part of being, looking at yourself and the strive for trying to be the person that you think you are, you want to be.
Yeah, if a man can do that, he's accomplished a lot in life.
Right. Well said.
And, even your enemies have to give you that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I shouldn't say enemies. I don't know that I have any enemies. I probably got some people that don't like me. But,
everyone does.
But, that just is part of life. But, if a man can, be in a conversation and they're not there, and, people might say some negative things, but they can say, well, there's one thing, that guy always kept his word.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's important to me. And to me, that's part of legacy too.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
And you instill that in the people that you're around, that you work with, that your children. It's important to be that kind of person.
Yeah, I think so.
So
you've had a lot of experience over the years. So backflow with Ames, what's the change? How is that different, or what was the impact? I mean, I really don't know too much about that acquisition. I think, was that in the 90s or 80s?
Yeah, that was in the 90s. Well, Ames just came in and made a lot of waves on a new design of a backflow. And it was a real simple design. It was just two checks and a Vic coupling on top. And so you pull that Vic coupling off and unscrew those checks. And there was some hiccups along the way, as anything with new designs. But yeah, it's pretty innovative. And Watts recognized it, and they wanted that as part of their product offering. And Watts has always been, the leader in regards to making sure that, they are kind of the innovator. They're the ones that have the new products. They lead the way, and they recognize that they needed that manufacturer, and so that's why they purchased it. And it was an interesting road.
How did it affect RepMasters and the business for you guys when Watts?
It didn't really affect anything. There was some uncertainty there, as there is with anything. Anytime there's an acquisition,
Sure.
I watched over about a 3-year span where, all manufacturers say, well, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. Yeah, whatever.
Well, the one thing that doesn't change is that things change.
So after 3 or 4 years, I think there's only 2 Ames guys left.
Okay.
In the entire country, and I was one of them. And but we worked hard in fire protection, and we were strong in the irrigation market. We were involved in the plumbing market as well. And then they purchased Febco, which is the manufacturer that's very strong on the irrigation side. That's the one that I used to butt heads with Mike on.
Right.
And they purchased them, and they immediately awarded us that line as well. And that's when Mike came to work for RepMasters. And then we just, everybody's like, well, you're the only outsider. You're like it. Right. The rest of them are just these reps that have been Watts reps forever and ever. And so we just, we didn't let that affect the way that we did anything. We have our business plan, and we put our heads down, and we just push forward, like we do with any manufacturer. And then I got a call one day, and they're like, hey, would you be interested in taking on the entire Watts line? And I was like, absolutely. It's a long relationship there. And that happened. And so
that part of the long interview process and multiple PowerPoints and
there was a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of politics, because Watts doesn't make changes with rep agencies hardly ever. I mean, just they're very loyal, and they have great reps out there, so they don't want to make changes.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of trust factor between them. I'll use them as kind of a little example of all the manufacturers that we represent and what we try to accomplish with them. And so when the opportunity happened and we did get the line, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think 3 years later we were Watts Rep of the Year. And but it didn't really change anything. We just adjusted the business plan, expanded the product categories that we were pushing, and went out there and gained market share.
Yeah. Well, the markets are different, but, success is, we've talked about it several times, there's no secret sauce, right? There's sales metrics and there's following process. And if you have the processes in place, which you had, as long as you understand the markets, you follow those metrics and you'll be successful.
Yeah.
And I think it's the consistency and, being consistent and relentless is probably, that's probably 80% of it. The 80-20 rule on what it takes in sales to be successful. And, that's the effort is a huge part of that.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you have to be dedicated to what you do. And it's being persistent. Persistence is all what it all comes down to, really. I mean, you have to have the process of procedures, as you mentioned earlier, in place and a business plan, but you've got to be persistent in your approach to all aspects of life in general.
Yeah.
And you got to be committed to what you set your mind to, and God kind of takes it from there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. I think it's like, look at the Colorado River, right? Just that persistent, constant flow creates the Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
just that being consistent, moving in the same direction, and then understanding and recognizing what things need to be improved. I think that's one thing that's impressed me the most about you as a businessman, because I've known, met several in my time in the car business as well, and then now when you meet the manufacturers and you see what makes a successful business is having the ability to adapt. And then the message, you see it a lot, like you look at COVID and how people react, you never want to be the ostrich with his head in the sand. You've always been somebody who's been able to react, recognize trends, adjust where it needs to be, but at the same time, no reason for panic. We have one job, and you've always said it's to grow sales, and no matter what the environment is, it's to gain market share. And that's happened. It's been consistent. You have the ups and downs of the economy, and it has an effect, but they're just different obstacles, and all it is to figure out how to overcome that.
Well, water's a perfect analogy of that. I mean, water doesn't stop.
No.
It just goes, and you can throw a big boulder in the middle of a river, and it's going to find its way around it, and it's going to continue on. And we're in the water industry, so it's ironic, but water truly is the best analogy to use for that in life as well, not just business. It's like everybody goes through ups and downs, and there's positive periods in life and negative periods in life, and you just keep pushing forward, and just like water.
Yeah, talk about how I remember. I'll never forget. When freaking out during COVID, it was funny because I think I was at an engineer conference up in Wyoming, and the first time anyone even mentioned COVID is there was someone then who was traveling from out of the country and coming back, and he got sick, and there was like 2 presenters that couldn't, so I ended up having to fill in, and I had like 1 course scheduled. I did 3 up there, and that was the first time you heard about it. And then we were at, I think the week before they started talking about lockdowns. We went to an engineer firm, and they had 3 people that got quarantined, coming back from a trip to India.
Yeah.
And then everyone started panicking and freaking out. And what was your response to that from a business standpoint?
Well, it was a very new experience for all of us, everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody'd been through anything like that before, but to me, it's just like what we were talking about before. It doesn't really change anything. I mean, it's just another obstacle and challenge that comes up in life. And, you were here with me during that period, and I basically came in, and we just, there people were getting laid off. I mean, everybody was knee-jerk reactions, and I just, hey, nothing's changing here. Nobody's losing their job. We're going to find a way to be successful during this period. Right. It's going to be different. And it was different. It's been a very different period of time. And we just pushed forward. And, people need water, first of all.
Yeah.
And I remember we got a notice from the city of Denver saying, hey, there's cars parked in your parking lot.
Right.
You got to send your people home. You can't be involved in this. You can't be open. And I remember I just put together a letter and just said, well, you obviously don't know what we do. We sell products. Right. So you want to send us home, and there's a water main break or a flood in a hospital. Yeah. You guys need parts, and you need something that is readily available. You're not going to want us being closed. So if you got anything further to say about this, you can contact my attorney. And I listed his name, and then we never heard another sound.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a different period for all of us. We're just really just coming out of it. I mean, procurement completely changed. I mean, any purchasing habits and processes that were in place were basically thrown out the window, and everybody just was desperate to get product. And it was like, we really don't care. Just get in line so you can buy as much stuff as you can, so that we have product to sell. And so for that 2-year period, maybe even a little bit longer, it was just, that's what it was. That was life. And so, yeah, it was very different for the manufacturer, for the wholesalers, for us, for the contractors, and then it started calming down, but everybody had so much excess inventory that, they had to burn through that, and then then it starts getting back to normal. But then we have an election, and now we're dealing with tariffs.
Yep.
And so that's a different animal. And so, it's just uncertainty in the world and in life and in business. And so, we're kind of back to normal,
right,
in regards to procurement.
Just in time for the tariffs.
Not really, because that's all out the window now.
Yeah.
And we're not really sure what's going to transpire. It's all for the good. I think that everything that's transpiring right now is very, very good for our country. It took 40 years for the administration and our government to destroy manufacturing in our country, and for anybody to think that it's going to turn around in a matter of 6 months or so they're out of their minds.
Yeah.
But what's the alternative? To continue down that road?
No.
And have manufacturing no longer here in the United States, and relying on other countries for our well-being. And we're not a stronger country because of what's happened over the last 40 years. We're
right.
a weaker country. So you have to make these changes and these sacrifices and these things that's taking place right now, and these people that are screaming at their top of their lungs and standing out there with signs, and I look at them and I was like, they're just ignorant.
Yeah.
They're ignorant to the way that the world works, the economy works, what's happened in our past, and where we're sitting right now. And I mean, that's one thing that I struggle with. I'm pretty tolerant individual, but ignorance is something that I don't have a lot of tolerance for, because all it takes is somebody to go out there and do some research and educate themselves, rather than just regurgitate the last thing the moron told them, and think it's gospel. Right. I despise that.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, blind ignorance is definitely it's like you have the ability, especially now, you have so much access to information. I mean, I know, that's part of it too, is where are you gathering? But anyone now, with how much information that's out there, if you really want to be objective, you can look at both sides and look at what's going on, and at least come up with a informed opinion, as opposed to just taking whatever someone else said. You hear the same exact talking points over and over.
Yeah, I mean, in some aspects, there's variables, and an opinion can come into place.
Mm-hmm.
That's just normal. That's that's what makes our nation great. But in some areas, there really is just facts.
Yeah.
There's facts and there's history, and it's like, what has happened? It's just taking these tariffs, that we're discussing right now. Why are we in this position?
Yeah.
You go back. It's factual data. What transpired, and why we're sitting here, and why it better change. And for people to argue facts, I guess that's maybe a better way for the thing that I'm not tolerant in regards to is just facts. Get your facts straight. Nobody wants to hear that mindset of just you're nothing more than a puppet. You're not taking the initiative to go out there and educate yourself. You're relying on the guy that just told you a bit of information, and you're just going to go spit it out. Well, the guy that just told you that information might be a complete moron, and you might his reasonings for saying it may be not the best.
Right.
So you better get informed.
Yeah.
Apathy in our country will destroy it. And apathy at anything will take its toll. So, and apathy is just, Oh, I don't really care, or, I'm not going to really research it. I'm just going to spit out what the last guy told me.
Yeah.
So.
Or the other side too that annoys me is the people that, like, well, I don't even pay attention to politics, or I don't pay attention to that. That's, I mean, it's just like, and not necessarily like politics. Like, you don't have to be involved in, make it every day. But if you don't know what's going on current events wise, like if you're not in the loop on stuff, like how do you, and to me, I have a family, 4 children. I look at what things are going to be impactful. Look at World War II, for example. If we didn't have the manufacturing capacity that we had at that time, we'd be speaking German or Japanese right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we were at one point, I believe, I was watching a documentary about the cranking out the naval ships of all the powers that were involved in World War II at the time. At the beginning, we were the smallest navy, and it wasn't even close and outdated. And then within 2 years, we were the largest navy in the world.
Yeah.
We did that through manufacturing. So there's if people don't understand what's going on and why it has to change, there's national security implications involved all over. I mean, during COVID, we couldn't, people were talking about you couldn't get chips for your microwave, for your fridge, for your car. And how can we can't rely like that.
Yeah, you can't. And, it goes back to the same thing. I mean, we don't have the luxury, and this goes back to legacy. I mean, we don't have the luxury to do nothing. We just don't. Good men have to do something. When you recognize and you see a problem, you better step up and do what you can, your part, to fix it. And if you don't, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And if you don't get involved in, take a position on politics, then, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And
that's the apathy part.
That's the apathy. That's what I mean. Apathy will destroy. That's if you look back at, the great civilizations in the past, the citizenry became apathetic, and they failed.
You wouldn't say we're overindulged and apathetic right now, would you?
Well, there is a little bit of an awakening going on.
Yeah.
Which is encouraging to see. The younger generation, I'm seeing it a lot.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of conversations. That's very encouraging. Now, that gap between the younger generation of, 25 to 35, I don't know what happened to those people. And I'm not trying to pigeonhole anybody, because there's good people in all age groups. Sure. But that group is the most entitled group of people I've ever met in my life. I don't understand them. I don't know what motivates them.
We've talked about that. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't understand the motivation on a lot of that.
I don't even think they know what motivates themselves. And again, that's not just that age group. That's people in general. But there is a gap there. But I'm seeing an awakening. Where the young generations, just high school and into college, and they're not wanting this indoctrination anymore, and they're starting to think for themselves, and turning towards God as well. And I think that was something that was the one good thing I think that came out of COVID. Is I think people, because of the isolation, they were forced to look at their life.
Yeah. And
they realized how superficial it really is. This world will wrap you up and keep you spinning on that, treadmill.
Yeah.
And keep you busy and preoccupied. But when everything stopped, I think it worked as a detriment to what they wanted it to do in a lot of retrospect, because people looked at it and were like, man, there's got to be something more to life than this. And
we're all in this together, Brent. We're all in this together.
I think they started looking at it. I remember at the time I was living downtown Denver, and people were going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And I would sit out on my balcony it's around 10 o'clock every night, and people would go out on their balconies and just start howling. I've got videos, and it was like a bonding experience for everybody. We're howling like dogs out there, going, "We've had enough of this. This is shit's got to stop," you know. But there was a lot of things that came out that were, you know, people like, it was like, "Hey, this isn't right."
Yeah.
These things that are going on, and of course, a lot of the things that had to do with COVID were not right, but some of the, you know, other things that took place. I mean, explain to me how, you know, some of these states closed down churches,
right?
But at the same time, you know, you'll go to jail if you open up. You can go worship God, but at the same time, if you wanted to go to a strip club or go to a bar or go to a liquor store, they were open.
Yeah, standing in line.
I mean, people started looking at that and going, something's not right here.
Yeah.
And you know, we can't go worship God, but we can go to a bar and get plastered.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, there's been an awakening, and I think it's good. And I think we saw it in this last election.
Yeah, I agree. So. Yeah, definitely. I think we even saw that. You know, it's interesting too. You bring up with the generations gap with, you know, religion more younger generations starting. I've seen that with my son. He's Gen Z. Ty, I actually heard when I was headed to the airport that they did some numbers for college enrollment, and that Gen Z is a 2 million. It's a drop of 2 million in college enrollment. More students, and then they still dropped 2 million over the previous year. I think that's also kind of a statement. I mean, Ty's not going to enroll to start right now in college. You know, I think a lot of people are choosing trade or, you know, maybe going out into the workforce and seeing what they like, what they don't like, and then, hey, if college is the avenue that I need to go down to accomplish the things I need to, or I decide I want to, so I can be better at this, as opposed to just. I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, I think talking about generations. I think there is a cycle. You talk about apathy, the cycle of apathy. It's like there's the greatest generation of all time, right? And they're raised by a generation that was in World War I, you know, and you know these are people whose parents raised them, saw atrocities, saw the horrors, and that led to not wanting to get involved in World War II, and that was obviously, you know, there was a necessity there. I mean, it was really good versus evil, and that generation stepped up, and then it led to this cycle, I think, where, you know, obviously they saw horrific things, and it led to this cycle where you wanted your kids to have it better. You don't want them to ever have to see that. And so then we got into the boomers, and then the boomers wanted, then it was the start to acquire, and then now I want my children to have more and not have to suffer, and it's all in good natural spirit of wanting your children to have, but then you get to a point where you go, okay, but sometimes in life, you know, you're supposed to have, if you don't have moments like that, you don't go through those moments, you don't grow. And maybe you become less appreciative of the things you have. And I think that's what we've seen. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. And we're in this cycle where it's almost like you're something, you know, and I'm thinking, I'm encouraged by this young generation, Gen Z. I think that there are going to be tough times. I mean, it's just the way that it works. And we're going to have to rely on them. And one of the challenges too, like we talked about, is water, and them having to solve the problems, because, you know, everyone talks about sustainability, but sustainability really is recognizing that we're doing some things that we're not going to be able to sustain that and continue to enjoy the benefits that, you know, we've acquired over the years, and honestly we've acquired that stuff through, you know, succeeding or overcoming huge obstacles, huge periods of pain and suffering, the Great Depression. You know, I look at my wife's grandparents, your parents, and, you know, when you go over and, you know, you'd leave the house, right, and there's grandma, you know, loading up, giving you all the leftovers in Ziploc bags. Nothing goes to waste. And so many times now you watch people, just throw away excess food and things like that. And it really has become a society of, are we really grateful for the things we have? And I think gratitude is something that's lost a lot.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, atrophy is a science, and it can happen in every part of life. It can happen physically. It can happen to people mentally. It can happen societally. I mean, we've seen it, and our country, the poorest people here are richer than 80% of the population in this world.
Yeah,
and we're just spoiled. And there's no difficulties in life anymore. I mean, it's just life is so easy, and I think that's one thing that I see a lot is these people who don't realize how good they have it, and they want to sit back and they want to pass judgment. And I certainly am not here to say that this country or these people or anybody does everything right. But we do the best that we can.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what I said earlier. It's like you get up every morning, you do the best that you can. And if all you're going to do is bitch and whine about everything in your life when you've got it better than 90% of the people in this world, that's just an entitlement attitude, a mindset that I think has crept into our society, and it's created major damage. And I don't really know the answer to that.
Right.
I mean, COVID was not what we all thought. I mean, that was the first time where maybe there was an issue, and people, because we all tried to do our part because it was new. We didn't know. I think a lot of what we were told was bullshit, and a lot of the things that took place, did not have to, and we're finding that out now. But it doesn't change the fact that that was the first time that in a long time in this country where we had to contend with something, all of us, nothing compared to World War I or World War II or some of the other issues it's the greatest generation, as you had mentioned earlier, dealt with. But the human spirit is still there, and the American spirit is still there.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody says. We are the greatest nation in the world. We are the stopgate on evil in this world. And if we didn't exist, who knows where we would be.
Yeah.
And the people in this country, they're different people. Some are weak, some are strong, but I will tell you this: the American spirit still exists. And if something did happen and we had to rally around each other, just like in World War I and World War II, I would not want to be on the other side.
Yeah, I agree.
I would not want to be looking at America as our foe.
Yeah.
And we find a way.
Yeah.
And life is like that. And there's really no answer to that. I think that's the one answer. I think is people start looking at their own life individually.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're talking about, with Gen Z and the introspective time that we all spent, evaluating our life and what mattered. And it was interesting, because I read an article during COVID. The number one book that was downloaded during that period was the Bible.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because people are like, whoa, just like I said earlier, there's got to be more to life than what I've been living. And if we're honest with ourselves, we're always constantly, we want the truth.
Right.
We really do. I think that some people, they get into this narcissistic mindset and they don't want the truth anymore. They've created this bubble around them and they'll fight to the death to protect it, even though it's nothing but a bubble of false information and lies and hatred and anger, and they live in anxiety all the time.
Yeah.
But I think deep down, if you're not a narcissist, you're going to look around and you're going to say, I want the truth.
Yeah.
I want to find the truth in anything. And if you are a seeker of the truth, you'll find it.
Yeah.
And that comes from, again, not being apathetic, not being caught up in the everyday, aspects of this world. And that's, for me, it's like, I'm passionate. I love what I do. I love the fact that we're making a difference. I believe that we are. Mm-hmm. But it's in every aspect of life. And, you sit there and you watch the news and they're focusing on the wrong things in regards to our resources. It's not big windmills and solar panels.
Right. Yeah.
It's what actually this country was built on and needs and continues to need. And they're trying to force things before their time. Electric cars are one thing. I mean, we don't have the capacity. There's laws been put in place that if everybody did have an electric car, we don't have the power to make it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But those are facts that nobody wants to look at. And water is a perfect example of that. Water is our most valuable resource.
Yeah.
And, with the exception of, some federal stuff that happens once in a while, it's really been ignored.
Yeah. It definitely has.
And I'll tell you what, it's going to take some, hopefully not, but it's going to take maybe a catastrophe or some big problem. And then all of a sudden, people are going to wake up and they're going to say, whoa, we forgot about water.
Right.
It's just always there.
Yeah. Turn on the faucet.
And so that's the beautiful thing about what we do is, we are involved in the greatest resource that we have, and that's water.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's right now that's where we have so much we talk about in the water. This industry is very slow to move towards, progress or towards innovation, and I think that's kind of you're seeing it. Right now it's funny because you'll hear a manufacturer go, "We're really looking at smart technology," and it's like if you're looking at that now, you're 5-10 years back behind the curve because there's already been companies out there. We talk about electricity. There's some cool stuff like with NPRV and pipe and what those guys are doing. I just saw the CBS article here for the one in Aurora that went in and the power, it's viable. Water's a source of energy. Why not use that? Now we're looking at, and I saw at the same time, I see an article about underwater windmills. Have you seen those? Mm-hmm. Underwater for water currently. Yeah, that seems.
Water is power.
Yeah, but it's like that seems. Yeah, that definitely doesn't seem like it will endanger the environment, right? Putting, talking about bird strikes on windmills. Let's go ahead and put some windmills underwater. See how the whales. So that's like we can harness the power of water without going going full ridiculous, to use a better term.
There's got to be a balance. Like I said, you can't force things. Things will naturally progress towards innovation. It always will. It always will. But if a group of people sit there and they think that they can force everybody, to do this, that, or the other thing before, it naturally becomes available and then naturally we have the ability to sustain it, then that's a problem. But water's different. And, we have it. We have the systems in place, but they're antiquated. They're old. Yeah. And there's issues that are going on. And, there's stuff that we contend with, the politics of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of politics in regards to
meters
water,
and hydrants.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. Let's take hydrants as one example. We know. It's like they've got all the EPA's got all these laws in regards to lead, and metals in our drinking water, but what is the one thing that's exempt?
Yep. Fire hydrants.
Fire hydrants.
Yeah.
And they're right there. Why is that? Why has hydrants not changed its design in how many years, John? You would
About
know.
100.
About 100 years.
Yeah, major.
I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, look what everything else has progressed.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a political issue right there, and
that's
it shouldn't
access,
be.
Yeah.
And they're requiring on residential homes, to tear out lead lines or galvanized lines, because they don't want poisoning, but they got a hydrant sitting right out there outside the house that's doing all the same things.
Yeah.
And the thing that's frustrating to me is that there is a viable solution to that with SIGLOC. And that
or just demanding the materials. I mean, if a city, if a municipality demands a change,
they need to.
They'll have to. That's it's in their power. They're the ones responsible for the systems. So we're seeing a lot of the different municipalities, and there's some that are really looking towards. I know like Longmont, Arvada, Aurora. These are areas where they're looking at they're trying to improve. I'm not saying that none of them aren't, but there are definitely some, and a lot of it has to do with the allocation of the resources. I mean, you got cities that have growing population, they've tripled, quadrupled in size, and yet their water systems, their budget for their, the number of people now in order to take care of that system is stayed the same, or it's even become less. Mm-hmm. And it's like
that goes back to what I was saying earlier. I mean, look at the federal subsidies in regards to solar,
right,
and wind power.
Yeah,
I mean, that stuff should be focused on stuff that really matters.
Drinking water,
like water.
Yeah,
and people don't understand too. It's like, water is a closed system to some extent, but it's a danger. We started out talking about backflow. Mm-hmm. Why did the backflow laws come into place? Because of back siphonage. It started killing people, and it wasn't a closed system, and so there was reasons behind it. Now we live in a day and age where, unfortunately, we have to pay attention to the evil that exists in the world and what they have the ability to do, and I don't want to put it out there, but anybody can go open up a hydrant.
Yep.
And put any kind of poison or toxin within the drinking water system in that entire area without any problem whatsoever.
Yep.
There's no lock. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Sure.
And we're trying to do something about it, but people better wake up, and hopefully the federal government will realize as well as the state and local governments, that water is pretty damn important. And if you're going to subsidize something and improve the infrastructure, it probably should be water.
Yeah. Well said. I agree.
So it's a great industry, but just like anything, there's problems, there's issues. You just work through them.
Yeah.
So I hope that the younger generation looks at it a little more seriously. I actually think I have nothing bad to say about a college degree. We touched on that earlier.
Sure.
I mean, I went back to college and I got my degree. I got a dual major, but I did it because I wanted to understand business better.
Right.
I wanted to be able to operate my businesses, more efficiently and understand the things that make the economy work.
Yeah.
But that's why I did it. I'm never going to badmouth a degree.
Oh no.
I will badmouth some of the colleges and universities.
Yeah.
And what we've allowed to happen in our country in regards to that, as far as indoctrination, and that's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother podcast for that one.
But the trades, you mentioned that. I mean, I think that's gone up. I think a lot of the younger generations are looking at getting into a trade, and I think that's amazing and a super important thing to sustain what we've got going on here. Everybody, a lot of the youth thinks that they had to have a college degree to make it anywhere in life. And that's just not true. I mean, as a business owner, that's a positive.
Well, it shows that
To some
somebody
extent.
accomplished something, right? I mean, in this day and
Yeah.
age, it's hard to. It shows that somebody went to school for 4 years and they accomplished something. That's a lot of times people will start something and they just walk away.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I mean. My dad was telling me that's what. I mean, that was the whole biggest thing about a degree. It was that it told somebody that that person accomplished something, and and that's what whether it's military service or college, but there's no definitely. I mean, it's a positive to have a degree. I think what the younger generation is finding is there's value, right? I mean, value is everything. Values in sales. If the value of whether it's knowledge or a product, if the value exceeds the price, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times what you're looking at is, now, I think when I was younger, you go to college you can go, $2,000 a semester.
Yeah.
Now you got people that are parents that are taking out second mortgages and sending their kids to college for $150,000. And what's the value? How long are they going to have to work, and what are they going to go to school for? A lot of it's just, no, we told our kid to go because you have to have the experience. The experience of what? Going to school and partying, skipping out class. I mean, that's what you see a lot of is they think, oh, they got to have that college experience. That's the fun times. And it's like you're paying a price for that.
Yeah.
And then just to go get indoctrinated and then come out with a degree in, the liberal arts or general studies, it's like, you want to find something different than having a law degree or degree in business or in communication. Nowadays we just go, it's like, that's what we were taught. Parents said, I can't do anything unless I go to college.
Yeah. I mean, my opinion, if somebody has a college degree, yeah, they have accomplished, they've had to be somewhat disciplined to go out and get that degree, but it also, shows a level of critical thinking, the ability to, think things through.
Hopefully.
Well, that's my next point. Then the knowledge part, but, are they being taught that anymore?
Right. Not really. Because
I
now
don't know.
if you question,
I don't know. They were back when I went back to college.
I can tell you, my brother had a really hard time going to college, and at first, and that's a lot of it was because if you challenge, that's kind of now you're a heretic, right? Don't question the science. That's what they used to say when they thought the Earth was flat. I know there's still some people that believe that, but
There are
a few, but but the science changes. We used to think everything evolved around the Earth. The Earth was flat. The science changes. We used to think that Earth was the only place that could possibly, have any biological life. We know that that's not true now. That's the science. So whenever someone says don't question the science, you go, well, isn't that what science is? I mean, I remember what I learned was there's a scientific method. Science is figuring out if that really is the truth. It should be the truth, and you use the scientific method to discover the truth.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the idea of having a theory is frowned upon now.
Right.
There's no theories. You just believe what we tell you.
Yeah.
And that does nothing but stunt individual growth and societal growth.
So there is no critical thinking when that becomes
That's
the norm.
the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And so, I don't know. It's an issue that we're going to have to contend with. And I have kids. I have grandkids now.
Right.
And to me, that's a legacy thing as well. And so, we want to leave our country in a better place than we grew up in, and we weren't heading in that direction. I remember I grew up in the '80s, Gen X. I mean,
I'm Gen X with the last year, thank goodness, 79.
Yeah, we did some crazy shit back then, but we survived. But the thing is I mean, life is about that.
Yeah.
And you don't want to stunt that. And I think that's the problem with, going out and jumping into college right away. This is just something that I believe. Parenting has not gotten better either.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Without a
so
doubt.
I think that, maybe in the past, when I graduated high school in the 80s, I was maybe a little more grown up.
Right.
Than the kids that graduate high school now.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to fend for myself. I mean, I had to buy my own car. I had to buy my own clothes at 16. I had to do all those things, and it goes back to what you alluded to earlier. It's like parents, they just kind of want to continually give, out of their goodness of their heart. You hope that's what it is, and it's not just, here, I'll give you whatever you want, just stay out of my life.
Right,
Just,
right. Leave me alone.
I don't want to parent you, just go do whatever the hell you want. I mean, I personally think, Israel's got it right, making these kids go to the military.
Mandatory service, yeah.
I mean, you pop them out of high school, stick them in the military for 2 years. They're going to learn discipline. They're gonna learn what matters in life.
Yeah.
They're going to learn how to think critically, and then instead of giving away student loans and paying them off, why not set something like that up? You join the military, have a 2-year program, and then the federal government will help pay for your college degree.
That's the GI. That's the GI Bill. That's why.
That's what should happen, because at that point, then they're a little older.
Yeah.
They're grown up, and when they go in there, they're not going to let these professors. They're going to argue the points.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, that's not correct. They got a spine now. They had a sergeant spitting in their face for 2 years,
Yeah.
And kids would have, a backbone at that point. And this kind of stuff wouldn't happen.
Yep.
And so, if I got into politics, there's a lot of stuff I would do.
We'll talk about the what it would look like a life under Brent Richards as president.
President. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't have the temperament for politics. I would be. People would just say, "Who in the world is this guy?"
But I mean, you look at a lot of the stuff that's going on with Trump. I think that, when you have it from a business mindset, you can definitely see the frustration, but you can also see the difference between the first. You and I talked about how it was, he couldn't be doing what he's been doing, had he not had that period where he didn't win 2020.
Yeah.
Because he came in understanding the frustration there is he understands that you have to do it under the law. And if you look at, as much as the media wants to scream, everything he's done has been buttoned up through lawyers, and he's done it. You can challenge it, which is the right way to do it, to follow the process, right, and challenge it. I think sometimes the circuit judges are, overstepping bounds, for sure. But you can tell there's a difference. There's a method there to it. But the frustrations of business owners in business, it's like when you say, get it done, or this is what we're going to do, this is what we do. It is an executive position, right? It's the executive branch, chief executive. That's what he is. So.
Yeah, I mean, his first term was great, and a lot of good things happened, and he proved
until COVID.
He proved himself in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But he was still green.
Yeah.
I mean, he thought he could come in and operate within the political animal with this business mentality. And, I think he bought into some things he shouldn't have bought into, and, he makes mistakes. He's just a man, just like you and I are. He's going to make mistakes, and he's not perfect. But I think it was God that got involved personally, that he did not win his second term.
Yeah.
Because then what's happened during that 4-year period is the awakening was solidified.
Right.
Okay, people woke up, started to wake up, and then for 4 years, we sat and we watched this country go downhill, no respect. Our commander-in-chief couldn't even find his way off a stage. I mean, and everything, that they stood for was diametrically opposed to not only the Bible, but the Constitution and what this country was founded on.
Yeah.
And so for 4 years, people watched it, and the awakening was solidified, and that's why Trump won like he did.
Yeah.
And then during that 4-year period, to his credit, I don't care what you say about the guy. He's a winner.
Right.
And he knew he was going to get back in the race and he was going to win.
And that you could be tired of winning.
And
so tired.
But he did. And when he did that, he spent that 4 years figuring out the political animal.
Yeah.
And so when he got in, he hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And he's doing exactly what he was elected to do. And so people can cry and complain. That goes back to the ignorance and whatnot. But I don't know. It's you better. People should open their eyes, and hopefully more people are, and I'm seeing that they are, to the reality, or we won't have, our country is not going to be the United States of America that we all grew up in. And again, that's legacy. What are my grandbabies going to be experiencing?
Yeah.
Something better change, and it is. And the people that are complaining about it obviously have no clue, why this country was founded in the first place, and the principles that it was founded on, and how far we have fallen from that during the last 4 years before Trump was reelected.
100%.
I mean, it's a scary scenario.
Yeah, was it Reagan that said that freedom is no more than one generation away from extinction?
That's right.
And I think we've seen how close. That's a scary point. So it is good to see. I think that the younger generation there is an awakening, and that's encouraging.
Yeah, I even think some of the older generations.
Yeah, that too.
Some of the people that are my age, are like, wait a minute. I mean, if you took John F. Kennedy and he ran today, he would be a right-wing lunatic.
Like RFK?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. If people were to take the time, they put him on a pedestal. He's this great Democrat, and he's going to change all these things. If you go back and look at his policies, it's available. Yeah. Go look at them. Yeah. They're nothing compared to what the Democratic Party stands for now.
Yeah.
They don't. They're not even compatible, and that's the difference. And I'm not saying that the answers are the Republican Party, but that is the lesser of the two evils.
Right.
I mean, I consider myself a libertarian.
Yeah.
I mean, I want the government to stay in its lane.
Yep.
And let the citizens do what we do.
Yep. Its job is to protect the people and the Constitution.
And to keep the highways and the trades open.
And the water flowing.
Well,
hey, I think it's a great time to wrap that up with that. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Been a great conversation. I knew it would be, so.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. And look forward to doing it again sometime.
Looking forward to seeing who you have on next, and the list is going to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right.